Hello, and welcome to Top of the Line. I'm Nick Lynch.
And I'm Ben Heltzer.
And today we are going to be talking about what went down during Week 10 of the NFL season, including win streaks, returning stars, a new NFL record, and our picks for Game of the Week. So let's get started. So, Ben, the 49ers, they get a fantastic win in Jacksonville on Sunday against Trevor Lawrence and the red-hot Jacksonville Jaguars. But the 49ers, they were on a 3-game losing streak, and then they just slammed the door on Jacksonville.
Yeah, I think they absolutely needed this win. I think that bye week worked wonders for them. And they're right back on top of the division, I think. I'm not sure, but I think they are. And, they're right back, within the conversation for, Super Bowl winners. I mean, that game was amazing. They needed it. Brock Purdy was back. Even though McCaffrey didn't get his record-breaking touchdown, it was still a great game for the Niners. And I don't know what this means for the Jags. I know the Texans are close in that division, but we'll just have to see.
Yeah, I mean, the 49ers getting Chase Young at the trade deadline, played his first game with San Francisco. Do you think he's going to make an impact moving on in the season on that defensive line for the 49ers?
Definitely, and him and Nick Bosa are going to be a deadly combination, and I feel sorry for any offensive line that has to go against them within the next few weeks.
I agree. So, Ben, the Minnesota Vikings, they start the season 1-4, and then crazy events that occur around that. Kirk Cousins tearing his Achilles and ending his season. Justin Jefferson also getting injured. And then they bring in Josh Dobbs, and they look unstoppable.
Yeah, and it's crazy because they're without arguably their two best players on offense, Cousins and Jefferson, and they haven't lost a game without Jefferson. And Josh Dobbs, what he's been able to do, not only in Minnesota these past 2 weeks, but in Arizona, keeping them in a lot of games. He's been really good this year, and I think that he can easily lead Minnesota to a wild card spot in the NFC.
So do you think Minnesota's playoff chances have gone up?
Yes, I do, and it's because of Josh Dobbs. And, I mean, they're getting Jefferson back, I think, this upcoming week, and it's going to be really fun to see how electric that offense can get.
I mean, I agree. Like, the Vikings, if they were to make the playoffs, they would be in, like, that 7th spot, maybe, because, the NFC is a very powerful conference with teams like the Cowboys, the Seahawks, 49ers, and teams like that. But
yeah, and Josh Dobbs just left the Cardinals, but speaking of the Cardinals, they got Kyler Murray back, and he did well. He led them to a win against the Falcons. What were your thoughts on his return?
I mean, Kyler Murray, he is, well, no debate, the quickest quarterback in the NFL. But the Cardinals, they didn't look like the 1-7 team they were all season long. And I think getting Kyler back is a major advantage for them. But, the Cardinals fans in Arizona think that, their season's over, which, they are 2-7, but they get Kyler Murray back.
Yeah, and their season might be over, but they could make some noise next season, especially, they'll get an early pick in the draft. They can get Kyler some weapons, maybe bolster the O-line, and, they could make some noise in that division next year. I'm excited to see what they do.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree. You have, if you just get in some weapons, receivers, O-line, the Cardinals could be a pretty good team this year.
Definitely.
So, an NFL record 6 last-second field goals this week. Houston getting one in Cincinnati, Denver getting one in Buffalo on Monday night, and a lot of others. So what did you think about those field goals?
Yeah, and it was a crazy week. I mean, 6 last-second field goals, the most in a single week in NFL history. I mean, you got the Browns, the Cardinals, the Seahawks, amongst the teams that you already said. And I think it was a great week for the NFL and a great week for those teams. It was really exciting to watch.
I agree. But I can't believe that happened in the Broncos-Bills game. The Bills get that 12 men on the field penalty, which would have won the game for Buffalo because the Broncos kicker missed the field goal. And then they get that 12-man penalty. They try again, and this time Denver wins the game. But the Broncos are looking dangerous in the AFC West right now.
Yeah, and that game sucked as a Bills fan, but even though that game was the lowest scoring game out of all the last second field goal games, it was probably the most exciting to watch just because of everything that went down. And this was definitely a crazy week for sure.
I agree. All right, it's time for Game of the Week. So for my pick, I'm going to take Texans and the Bengals. I think Houston escaped that game, and because C.J. Stroud threw an interception that almost was a pick six for the Bengals, and Cincinnati kind of made a comeback there, but I think Houston just were able to escape Cincinnati.
Yeah, and I mean, Cincinnati was playing catch-up basically the whole game, and they did a pretty good job at it, but C.J. Stroud is just phenomenal, and the Texans are really firing on all cylinders right now. Anyway, for my pick, there were a lot of good games this week, but, I think the best out of all of them was probably the Lions-Chargers game. I mean, offense, everywhere. Both offenses showed up and showed out. The defense is not so much, but it was great to watch as a fan. And that last-second field goal was just, the cherry on top. I think that was a great game.
I mean, I agree. That game was like a penalty shootout in soccer from the start to the finish. The Lions, they dominated the Chargers that game.
Yeah, exactly. And, I like the analogy, and I think that it can do a lot for the Lions moving forward. It, gives them some morale. And the Chargers, I don't know what they're going to do, but, I hope they get back on track, especially with the Raiders and Broncos starting to win.
Would you agree, though, that the Lions, no matter how old you are with a Lions fan, this is the best Lions season you've ever experienced?
Yes, 100%. I think this is one of, if not the best Lions team like I've ever seen, and I'm excited for the Lions and what they can do moving forward.
So that's going to be it for today, but don't go anywhere because when we come back, Matt and Noah will talk about all things college football. So stay right here.
Welcome back to Paul Fonte's predictions on Top of the Line. Today we will be covering Week 11 of college football. Let's start with the big one. All the drama with Jim Harbaugh did not affect Michigan at all. To be quite honest, I think it may have motivated them. Michigan made an absolute statement on the road versus Penn State. I mean, Noah, they ended the game with 32 straight run plays, absolutely just slamming it down in Penn State's mouth. What was your biggest takeaway?
So I really thought this was just a statement by Michigan that they don't need signs to win games, even if they did end up stealing signs from other teams. I mean, Michigan's just an amazing football program, whether they cheat or not. And beating Penn State on the road like that is just the biggest statement you can make on a stage like that without your head coach. I mean, I think they just played it great as they always do, and with the run game was just amazing, man.
Yeah. In other games around the country, Washington and Oregon both took care of business. Georgia absolutely throttled Ole Miss at home, extended their win streak, and keeping the three-peat a realistic dream. If you ask me right now, I still have Oregon as the best team in the country. What do you think, Noah?
Okay, so really quickly, though, with the Ole Miss game, I just want to say, if none of you have seen it yet, go look at this catch that one of the Ole Miss receivers made. It's easily catch of the year. I think for the Pac-12, honestly, I think USC has fallen out of contention completely.
Yes.
I think this is Washington's division to win. I'm going to be honest with you, Matt. Obviously Oregon's a very good football team, and they're going to be they're going to win a bowl game or two. And but honestly, Washington has just been so good, man. I mean, they're undefeated. They took down Oregon. Michael Penix Jr. is looking like the Heisman. I mean, this is just a totally different team from what we saw last year, and I think that it's their division to win.
Yeah. Okay, let's look ahead to this upcoming week. Two of our top contenders face major challenges. Let's start with Washington. They actually are starting as an underdog at Oregon State on Saturday. Without a doubt, their highest road test on the season. Elsewhere, Georgia travels to Tennessee. I don't see any trouble for the Bulldogs, but I think Washington may be in trouble. Any upsets on your mind, Noah?
Okay, so I'm just genuinely curious. Who made Washington the underdog? They're undefeated. Oregon State has, I don't think, done much this year. I wouldn't be worried at all if I was Washington. Just stick to your roots, stick to your plan, trust Michael Penix, and you'll win that game. As for Georgia, I don't really see any trouble for them either. I don't think Tennessee is as big of a threat as they're posed to be. I mean, yeah, sure, they were good last year, but last year they had two players who are now in the NFL, Jalen Hyatt and Hendon Hooker. But I think both of those teams win. I don't think any upsets happen.
Well, that's all we have for this week, but don't go anywhere because when we come back, Rocco and Noah will be talking the latest news on WWE.
Hello and welcome to this wrestling segment of Top of the Line. My name is Noah Muller.
My name's Rocco Coppola.
And today we'll be discussing all things wrestling that occurred this past week. Without further ado, get ready to rumble. So Rocco, not this past week, but about, I want to say 2 weeks ago, we had WWE Crown Jewel. We didn't really go over that much, so I just want to do a quick little overview. We had Seth Rollins retaining against Drew McIntyre, no cash-in. And probably the biggest match of the night, I'll get to the point, was Roman Reigns taking down LA Knight and staying champion. Rocco, what did you think of Crown Jewel?
The pay-per-view, I think it was predictable to say the least, but doesn't mean it can't be entertaining. Predictable does not mean bad. And what Triple H did on Crown Jewel that night, he put together a fantastic show. A lot of people are going to be mad because LA Knight lost. I'm like, LA Knight's buried. I'll get into that in a second. But the show was awesome. I mean, Logan Paul wins the United States title. Love it. What else? Grayson Waller coming out looking like a fool. Love it.
Rhea Ripley retaining his championship against four other women.
Thank God. Thank God. Now, Rhea should be champ till Mania. I've said that before. Not going to waste any time on that. I will say, however, my favorite match of the night, aside from Logan and Ray, I think it was Ray. That was so fun because, like, Logan, the way he won, cheap, and he retired from the boxing ring for now. You saw how he grabbed the brass knuckles from one of his friends. I don't know what his random friend's name is, but now that touched into what Santos Escobar would end up doing, which we'll touch on that later. But Logan, I love what he's doing in the ring. He's slowly earning my respect more and more and more. And the way he dedicates himself to the ring is awesome. Putting his body on the line every time he's in the ring. You don't see this out of any celebrity superstar. No one's on his level in terms of matches. It's almost like he's had what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 matches, I think. 6 or 7, maybe 8. All of them are at least 4-star because he's so good in the ring. But my favorite match of the night, obviously, I think you would agree, Roman versus LA Knight. It was short, sweet. I get that. Roman Reigns, still the best wrestler in the world. We know this. LA Knight, though, this is what sickens me so much. The fans on social media, on the internet, on Twitter, rambling, all the marks. They're going like, oh, LA Knight's buried. He lost to Roman Reigns. That's not what buried means. LA Knight's still a megastar, as we saw on this past episode of SmackDown. He's still over. He's still fun to watch. He's still good in the ring. He'll get his match. He might beat Logan Paul for the United States title. I think that's the route that they're going to go. That's the route they should go. LA Knight is still that guy.
Yeah, I mean, I think personally he got elevated by that match, but that's just me.
Yeah.
And we also had Kyrie Sane return, but
I forgot to mention Kyrie Sane. That was awesome. That was awesome to see. He's going to be she's awesome in the ring. I love her finisher. Is probably my favorite finisher.
Yeah. Okay, moving on now. The Creed brothers, since signing the contracts and being called up to Monday Night Raw, are 2-0 so far. I mean, they took down Alpha Academy in their debut, and they took down DIY just not the Raw last night, but the Raw last week. They've been amazing so far, in my opinion. Rocco, what have you thought of the Creed brothers?
Yeah, the Creed brothers are really good to watch. I mean, what they do in the ring, the chemistry might be unmatched. It's giving me a lot of Revival vibes. They beat Alpha Academy. They beat DIY, who newly reunited. Love that fact. But with DIY reuniting and the Creed brothers being called up to the main roster, it frees up another tag team, because the Usos are done for now. For a while, actually. Not forget about for now. And so it's awesome to see how they're bringing up tag teams and elevating more. Now, there is one tag team I want to see get called up soon. My boy Tony D'Angelo's got to get called up. The Don, baby. He's got to get his fill. And he's gonna. Once he and the family get called up, oh, you best believe that SmackDown, hopefully SmackDown, is in for a treat. Because Tony D'Angelo is that guy. But we'll touch on Tony D'Angelo another day. He's not on the main roster right now. Maybe next time he does something big on NXT, we'll get into it. But, yeah, the Creed brothers, fun.
Very much so. And I think Tony D'Angelo would go to SmackDown because Raw is very contested in the tag team division recently. And just recently, we have been announced of War Games at Survivor Series November 25th. And War Games, the men's match has been set. It will be the Judgment Day consisting of Damian Priest, Finn Balor, Dominic Mysterio, and JD McDonough against World Heavyweight Champion Seth Rollins, the American Nightmare Cody Rhodes, Sami Zayn, and main event Jey Uso. Rocco, what do you think? I think this could be a banger.
It's going to be a banger. Like Sheamus says, after banger, after banger, after banger. It's awesome. War Games, one of my favorite match types. I'm so glad to see that it's been called up to the main roster finally after all these years. I know last year we had it with the Bloodline, but you get the gist. So I think that's going to be really fun to watch. And I feel like what Triple H wants to do, he wants to bring something new to the main roster. Vince is out. We know this. Endeavor, Ari Emanuel, I thank you. And now what Triple H is doing is awesome. I know people give him flack because he wants to do long-term storytelling, blah, 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 blah. Like, long-term storytelling, is the best type of storytelling. Why do you think people are still watching Roman Reigns? Why do you think people still hate Roman Reigns? They still watch the product because of Roman Reigns. That's awesome. And I should say, for the women's War Games match, I think, right? That was announced?
Yeah.
So, the mystery partner, I know people are saying it's going to be Becky Lynch, which I pray, please, do not be Becky Lynch. I'm sick of Becky Lynch. Keep her on NXT for now. I want to see Jade Cargill. That's who I want to see get called up.
100%.
But she is called up already, but I want to see her be in that tag match. She's got to make her debut at some point.
Yeah, definitely. Moving on here, speaking on that Women's War Games match, we had the Empress of Tomorrow, Asuka, turn on Bianca and Charlotte Flair and join Damage Control with Kairi, Io, and Bayley. That's setting up the heel team for War Games. Rocco, what do you think of this turn? I think Asuka needed it.
Yeah, she was literally just a heel, too. So I find it funny that now she's turning heel again, but for good reason. Kairi's back. Io is still with the Damage Control. I guess she's cool with Bayley now. Her rivalry with her back in NXT was fun to watch. But to see it now that she joins Dakota Kai, too, but she's injured, so she doesn't really count for now. Can't wait till she comes back. So, Asuka, just awesome in the ring. And just really, this is something new for her. I think she's going to be booked as a better heel this time. I think we finally got our Judgment Day of the women's roster.
Yeah, 100%. This is the most stacked women's faction I've ever seen. Another heel turn on SmackDown, as we were just talking about earlier. Santos Escobar, the LWO, turns on Rey Mysterio after being accused for leaving the brass knuckles on the apron at Crown Jewel. Rocco, Santos needed this more than anybody. I mean, Santos, we have just been bashing Santos ever since he joined the LWO. He's just been a very uninteresting face. Rocco, what do you think of the heel turn?
He's been getting really stagnant, and it had to happen. I know the way it happened was kind of dumb, but at the same time, it was brilliant on Triple H's part. Santos now, he could focus on LWO and getting revenge on Carlito and Rey Mysterio, too. But before that, I really didn't care about Santos Escobar. He was good in the ring, but really boring as a character. But that just chef's kiss with the way they told that storytelling on SmackDown. I love it. That is theater right there. That's theater. That tells you they could book good storylines without the Bloodline or the Judgment Day on SmackDown. Triple H knows what he's doing. That's theater at its finest.
100%. He's been great recently. And this is probably our biggest turn of, I'd say, the year, Rocco. We have Drew McIntyre finally turning heel after so long of them teasing it. Finally, last night in the Tag Team Championship match between the Judgment Day and Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso. Ref was distracted with Cody Rhodes. Jey Uso was outside of the ring. You just see Drew McIntyre staring dead into his eyes and then hits him with a Claymore kick and wins it for the Judgment Day. And it looks like he's agreed with Rhea, so it looks like there will be a 5-on-5 at War Games with McIntyre joining the Judgment Day. Rocco, what do you think of the heel turn?
Oh, Drew McIntyre, baby. That finally happened. We were waiting so long for this to happen, and it's finally here. McIntyre is a heel, and you know exactly what that means. We are getting Broken Dreams back. Might be a little Judgment Day tune mixed into it, like Finn and Priest, but this is awesome, man. Drew needed this. And here's the funny thing. He was still good as a face as well, but Drew McIntyre, I think he thrives most as a heel because he knows how to elevate the guys around him now. He's been built to do that ever since he came back in 2018 or 17, whenever he came back. Regardless, I think it's awesome. I can't wait to see where this goes. I hope he finally gets that world title back in front of a real crowd.
Yeah, it looks like, I don't care who's in the Judgment Day, the new top heel for the men on Raw is McIntyre. 100%.
That's McIntyre's faction now.
100%.
I hope Finn, Rhea, and Damian know that. We know JD McDonough is now man enough to try Drew McIntyre. Not anymore, at least. That's Drew's faction now. We're going to see it.
Yeah. That's about all we have for you today on wrestling. But don't leave just yet, as next, Andrew and Marco will be going over Premier League on Top of the Line.
Hello, I'm Marco Baldino,
And I'm Andrew Mirzaaghasi.
and we'll be covering this week's games in the Premier League.
So we're on week 12, and how do we treat week 12? So far, we have Tottenham losing to the Wolves.
Yeah, I mean, you could see goals for Wolves in the 91st and the 97th minute, and then Tottenham getting the early goal in the beginning, but that didn't stop. But Wolves were able to come back late in the game, very late in the game.
Yeah, it was a very upsetting loss because they lost to Chelsea by like a lot, and now they lose to the Wolves by a last minute.
Yeah, another big upset from Tottenham, and Tottenham are just keep on moving down in the table.
Yeah, so we would have Man United versus Luton 1-0. Man United had many attempts to score multiple goals, and they failed.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Man United get away with this game again. Like, it really should be more, but like Man United's performance, they just need to finish more. They need to finish, put the ball in the back of the net.
Yeah, I have a feeling that someone's going to make a fail compilation based on multiple games of them trying to like attempt to make the goal, and then they fail to do it, and then the reaction to it. Because the many attempts where I feel like they're going to make it, they instead fail it.
Yeah, just many times.
It's just too many times, to be honest.
And now we go to Liverpool versus Brentford. 3-0 Liverpool's easy win, and Salah scoring twice with a long kick from goal and a header that looked like it didn't put effort in.
Yeah, like when I saw that goal, he just like moved his neck and then that was it. It didn't take that much effort anyway.
Yeah, they make it look so simple.
Yeah, they do. They do, though. But this was a very easy win for Liverpool against Brentford.
Yeah, it's not really a challenge for Liverpool.
Yeah.
But you'll see next week's games, Manchester City versus Liverpool. Are you excited for that game?
Yeah. See, speaking of Manchester City, the most hyped up game, I should say, Manchester City versus Chelsea, in which, after seeing Chelsea demolish Tottenham, I was either expecting a loss or a tie. Thank God it was a tie. 4-4, with the first half being the most exciting part because I kept getting in and out of my seat, seeing of who would score or not.
Yeah, I mean, I think I have this for like game of the season so far. It's so exciting. Sadly I wasn't able to watch the game, but I kept looking at my phone, notification after notification, goal, just so many goals in this game.
Yeah, there was so many goals where some, like Chelsea could get the upper hand, and then Manchester City would score. Akanji and Holland would come in, they would score goals, but it eventually would go to a stalemate.
Yeah, in the end, the former Manchester City player Cole Palmer scores a penalty in the last minute of the game.
Yeah, tying it. But I feel like I agree that it should just end with a tie. But that's just me. It's better than a loss.
Still, I was really hoping for Chelsea to get that win once they got that their first lead. But it was still a really exciting game.
Yeah. So we would have our standings for this week. We would have Manchester City with 28 points, Liverpool with 27 points in second, and in third we would have Arsenal 27 points. But the only reason why it's not tied is because of the goal difference. Tottenham sadly went down to fourth due to their 2 losses, and in fifth, not surprisingly, Aston Villa still sticking with that 5th place.
Yeah, they're still up there, but yeah, you see Tottenham moving down, and Manchester City still on top though. But like let's just see if they're still able to stay in first place.
Yeah, we could see that.
Thanks for watching. Expect more rants from Rocco in the next episode.